Polygamy in Islam, an age-old practice or an outdated concept? Join us as we delve into the complexities of this controversial topic and explore the diverse perspectives surrounding polygamy in Islamic societies. Hello and welcome to our video on Polygamy in Islam. Marriage is an integral part of Islamic faith, and it plays a crucial role in the lives of Muslims. However, one of the most controversial topics related to marriage in Islam is polygamy. In this video, we'll be discussing what polygamy is and the Islamic perspective on it, as well as the social, legal, and ethical issues surrounding it. Polygamy, the practice of having multiple spouses at the same time, is a highly debated topic in Islam. Polygamy has been practiced in various cultures and religions throughout history, and it was also common during the time of Prophet Muhammad. Islam, as a religion, allows polygamy but under specific conditions. Polygamy is allowed for men only and with the permission of their first wife. However, the Quran also emphasizes that treating all wives with fairness and equality is mandatory. Polygamy in Islam has been a subject of criticism and controversy, with some people arguing that it is a violation of women's rights and a patriarchal practice that leads to exploitation and abuse. On the other hand, supporters of polygamy argue that it can be a solution for social and economic issues, and can also serve as a means of providing care and protection for women who might otherwise be left without a husband. The issue of polygamy has gained attention in recent years due to cases of abuse and exploitation that have been reported in various parts of the Muslim world. This has led to calls for reform and regulation of the practice to ensure that it is not used to justify oppression or discrimination against women. The issue of polygamy in Islam is complex and multifaceted, with different perspectives and opinions on its practice and regulation. The debate on this issue highlights the ongoing discussions and struggles within the Muslim community to reconcile traditional beliefs and practices with modern values and principles. Polygamy, or the practice of having more than one spouse, is a controversial issue in Islam. It is important to note that polygamy is not a requirement in Islam, but rather a permission granted to men under certain conditions. The Quran states, "And if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry other women of your choice, 2 or 3, or 4. But if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with them, then only 1, 4 to 3. The permission for polygamy is not given without any restrictions. A man must have the ability to provide for each of his wives and must treat them equally in all matters, including financial support, time spent with them, and affection. Failure to do so can lead to sin and is considered a violation of Islamic law. Polygamy is also subject to local laws and customs in different countries. In some countries, it is completely banned, while in others, it is legal but with limitations and regulations. Polygamy is often criticized by those who see it as a violation of women's rights and dignity. However, some Muslim women view it as a viable option to fulfill their needs and desires for a family and a stable home. It is important to note that women have the right to refuse marriage proposals, including proposals from married men. The issue of polygamy in Islam is complex and requires a nuanced understanding of Islamic teachings, cultural practices, and individual circumstances. It is important to approach the topic with an open mind and to seek knowledge and guidance from reputable sources. Polygamy in Islam is a highly debated topic when it comes to social issues. Some argue that it leads to the exploitation of women and perpetuates gender inequality, while others argue that it is a way of providing security and support to women who might otherwise be left without a husband. From an Islamic perspective, polygamy is allowed, but it is not mandatory, and it comes with strict conditions. Islamic law states that a man may have up to 4 wives, but only if he can treat each of them equally and justly. This means that he must provide for all of them equally and give each of them the same amount of attention and love. However, the reality is often different, and many men abuse their right to have multiple wives, leaving some of them financially and emotionally unsupported. In some cases, men use polygamy as an excuse to satisfy their own desires without taking into account the feelings of the women they marry. Polygamy also raises several social issues, including the impact on children and families. Children born into polygamous families may struggle with their identity and feelings of belonging, and it can be challenging for the different wives and their children to coexist peacefully. Moreover, in societies where polygamy is prevalent, it can lead to a shortage of eligible partners for unmarried men, which can have far-reaching social implications. It can also lead to economic disparities, as the wealthy are more likely to have multiple wives, while the poor struggle to find one. While polygamy is allowed in Islam, it comes with many conditions, and its impact on society can be complex and far-reaching. It is a controversial topic that requires careful consideration and discussion. Polygamy in Islam is a controversial issue, and it is often misunderstood by those who are not familiar with Islamic law. In Islamic perspective, polygamy is not encouraged, but it is permitted under certain circumstances. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, limits the number of wives a man may have to 4 and requires that he treat all of them equally. From a legal standpoint, polygamy is recognized in Islamic law, and it is governed by strict rules and conditions. The man must have the ability to provide for all of his wives and their children and must seek the permission of his current wife or wives before taking another wife. The woman also has the right to specify in her marriage contract that her husband cannot take another wife during their marriage. Despite the legal regulations, polygamy can still have negative social consequences, particularly for women. In many cases, women may feel pressure to accept a polygamous marriage because of economic or social reasons, and they may not have the same rights or status as their husband's first wife. This can lead to feelings of jealousy, resentment, and unfairness among wives and children. While polygamy is a recognized practice in Islam, it is not encouraged and is subject to strict legal regulations. It can also have negative social and psychological effects, particularly for women. It is important to approach this issue with nuance and understanding of the cultural and religious context in which it exists. Polygamy in Islam has also raised ethical concerns. Some argue that it is inherently unfair to women and violates the principles of equality and justice. Others argue that it creates an environment where men are not held responsible for their actions and can freely indulge in their desires. Additionally, some argue that it promotes a culture of competition and jealousy between wives, leading to harmful psychological and emotional effects on all involved. In response to these ethical concerns, many Islamic scholars and leaders have emphasized the importance of responsible and ethical polygamous marriages. They stress the need for mutual respect and love between all spouses, and the importance of treating each wife fairly and equally. They also emphasize that polygamy should only be practiced in cases of necessity, such as when a man wishes to marry a widow or divorcee who may not be able to find another husband. Despite these efforts, the practice of polygamy in Islam remains controversial and often misunderstood, leading to ongoing debates and discussions about its place in modern Muslim societies. In conclusion, the issue of polygamy in Islam is a complex and controversial topic that has generated much debate and discussion. While some argue that it is a fundamental right within Islamic law, others believe that it perpetuates gender inequality and goes against the principles of justice and fairness. Ultimately, the issue requires a nuanced understanding of Islamic teachings and a recognition of the social and ethical implications of polygamous marriages. It is important to engage in open and honest conversations about this topic, with the goal of promoting mutual respect, understanding, and equality for all individuals within the Muslim community and beyond. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a like and consider subscribing to our channel for more videos on Islamic thought and other related topics. Also, feel free to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts and opinions on polygamy in Islam. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and family who might find it interesting.